Wichita housing market Q3, Q4 for 2021. That's what we're going to talk about today. So before I get into all that, make sure we do all the usual stuff: like, comment, subscribe, share. Really appreciate it. Helps out local small business owner, myself here in Wichita, Kansas. And hopefully I don't sneeze all the way through this one. If you go watch the last video I did, I was sneezing like crazy and I couldn't get through it. It's kind of funny to watch, but that's another good one to go check out. But hopefully I don't have a sneezing attack in the middle of this, or I'll know I'm allergic to doing videos. Doesn't mean I'm going to stop though. But anyway, so I'm going to get into the Wichita housing market and kind of what we're seeing as far as some of our data reports that have come out. To give you kind of my professional opinions, projections, what I see happening. You know, nobody has a magic ball, but at least that way we can study what has been going on and what I'm seeing real time. Like as a realtor that sells quite a few houses here in Wichita, you know, I have pretty real-time access to what's going on in the Wichita market and relaying that to you like from the front lines, what we're actually seeing, what's going on. So without all that, I'm going to go ahead and get into it. I got a bunch of visuals I'm just going to show. So I'm just going to get into that now. Just start sharing my screen. Let's see, get some of this stuff out of the way. So the first one we look at is, this is a recent data report we just had that came out recently, kind of showing like what specifically is the price appreciation year over year for Q2 in 2021 as compared to, you know, Q2 of 2020. And what we've seen in Kansas is we saw 16.3% price appreciation, which, yes, that is higher than usual. But what we're only seeing, it was just for this year to last year. So some of you might be thinking like, well, isn't that what happened in 08? We had rapid appreciation, things were getting away. One thing I want to point out is that this is an entire country that was doing this. And not all areas did this. Like North Dakota is pretty low. Louisiana is pretty low, which that means people don't want to live there. And any of the areas where you saw pretty high price appreciation, obviously that means people want to live there because it's based on supply and demand. So it's not like it's across the board. Like Utah, I think, was the highest at 28%. Nope, I'd stand correct. Idaho was the highest at 37%. And one of the lowest, yeah, it was North Dakota. So it's not like everybody was raking it in, because North Dakota is probably hearing all these crazy stats from around the country and feeling kind of like the unwanted little brother that wasn't getting the price appreciation, because just because the country's doing well doesn't mean anybody wants to live in North Dakota. Whereas in Utah and Idaho, they're probably really feeling it the most as far as like everybody wanting to move there, seeing their prices really appreciate like crazy. So just something to keep in mind, that it's not like it's the entire country that's doing this. Kansas falls in at 16.3% for the past year. I personally don't see that happening for the next year. I don't think this is going to continue like this as we get, you know, the vaccine out. Some of our economy returns back to somewhat normal on everything, and things start to even out. Essentially, we get more listings coming to the market, more buyers coming back to the market, and things aren't going to be quite as crazy. They're not going to be quite as constricted, which is what led to this price appreciation. Some people might think less inventory, lower prices, but it's actually the opposite. Less inventory, less houses for sale, the price goes up. So the more we get houses out on the market, the more the prices will start to just be a more what we would call like an even market. And we're starting to see a little bit more of that around here in Wichita, where it's just kind of starting to settle down, and you're not seeing, you know, 8 to 10 offers. You're seeing 3 to 4, maybe 2 offers, maybe just one at asking price, or even there's situations where we're getting them under asking price, getting FHA, VA offers, contingent offers accepted. So I guess my point is that it's not entirely like impossible to get a house, kind of like it felt like before, unless you had cash or just really strong conventional loans, or could go way over. So it is still price appreciating, but I don't think it's going to continue to appreciate in a double-digit rate like this all the way into 2022. I personally think it's going to level off. But this chart just kind of helps you get an idea of like what happened in Q2. Again, this was just Q2. This isn't taking into account Q3 that we just got done with, and then Q4 that we're in, you know, right now. So we kind of have to still wait to see how those things play out. Another chart for you to kind of look at. This is what some of the experts are thinking what'll happen is, instead of having, you know, home price performance accelerate by 11.74% like they've been seeing, they're again going to start to see it level off. So I guess this is just another chart saying kind of what I was saying that over the next 4 to 5 years it'll start to on average across the board start to kind of level out on everything. So just gives you another picture of that. But if you kind of look at expected home value change in 2021, the average was 11.74 on everything. But again, like we said, what I typically tell people is that home prices usually appreciate about 6 to 8% on average across the board year over year. And so if you kind of look at that, that's kind of what this is saying is through 2025, we're going to start to return to that normal appreciation rate of 6 to 8%. And so that it's not going to be, hyper appreciated like it was before. And essentially what that's kind of saying is your window of opportunity is passing or it's already passed. I don't entirely know for your house because it's still kind of early to tell to say it's gone. But we are starting to see it start to calm down a little bit, level out a little bit. That doesn't mean that you may not have over asking price or people fighting over your house. It just means that it's starting to get evened out across the board on everything. But if you really look at the cumulative home value change from now until 2025, even if you were to buy a house right now, you would still get a 31% increase for just owning a home. And so, I mean, that's a really good thing. When you look at that over time, is it still holds true, even buying a house right now in this competitive market, over time, your house is still going to go up and still be a solid place to store your money. There are other investments that are better than your house because 6 to 8% on investment is just kind of okay. It's not, astronomical unless you're dealing with like millions and billions of dollars of investments. If you're more of a middle-class wealth or higher middle-class wealth, your home is not necessarily the best place you can invest some of your smaller amounts of money. There's other places that bring you higher returns until you have millions. And then when you get in the millions, then you're going to be starting to look at 6 to 8% rates of return and that being acceptable. So, but that's a whole nother subject for a different day. But basically what it's saying is that we're going to see this home price value start to get back to the 6 to 8% range, but it's still a good idea to buy a house because you can see how much cumulative home value change that goes up as opposed to like renting and you get 0% all the way through 2025 to give you an idea. So the key, like most investing, is just get started, get going. But what most experts are saying right now is that kind of the same thing that I was saying before. Nobody has a magic ball. Nobody knows for sure. Home sales are still pretty difficult to forecast because typically we base forecast off of past years. Well, we all know the past year was crazy. And so obviously that data is going to be unlike other data because we had a pandemic, a global pandemic going. So obviously that's going to skew some of the data we're looking at. And so if you look at some of these charts, you can see where 2019's home sales are at. And actually there's a key point I want to make about 2019's home sales right here is there's proof right there when I say that homes sell all year round. It's just that during the winter months, it's more serious buyers and sellers. And during the summer months, there's a lot more activity and there are more houses sold, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's the better time to sell your house. It's the best time for you to sell your house whenever it works for you personally for whatever your life reasons are. That's the real answer of all this. We'll take into account the finances and the market and all that that goes with this, but ultimately, like you're buying or selling a house because of a life reason. I'm getting off kind of a sidebar. If you look at 2020, you can see right where the pandemic hit, things were shut down, the whole country was shut down, things really dropped, but then you can see how much they rebounded back. And honestly, if you went and averaged that out, I bet you'd be about a flat line, kind of like 2019 was too. I'm getting the sniffles. I better not start sneezing. That'll be ridiculous. 2020, you can see where we really had a sharp dip, but then we had a real sharp rebound up and it kind of corrected itself a little bit. And that's where you saw not just the quantity of home sales go up, but obviously the price appreciation like we just went over on everything. And if you look at 2021 home sales, and this is units of sales, this doesn't have to do with price or volume or anything like this. This is just the number of homes that are actually sold. So 2021, you can see where, throughout the winter month and even a little bit in April, May, it kind of dipped down a little bit. It actually wasn't, usually we see more of an increase during those months, April, May, June, and July. So what you're seeing here is it actually kind of dipped down. And again, this doesn't have August, September, and we're in the middle of October right now. So looking at the data on this chart, it's kind of lagging, I guess is where I'm at. So I'm saying with that. So it's kind of difficult to see what it does for the rest of the year. But what they're kind of saying right here is they think it's going to kind of like level out for the rest of the year as far as number of units sold. But that number of sales is still beating the number of sales from 2019. So as far as number of homes sold, we're still selling more homes. More homes are being sold. And it's not continuing to rise like it did in 2020. They're kind of thinking it'll level out. Honestly, that's kind of what I'm feeling in the market too, is that things are starting to level out. If you're a buyer, it's a good time to buy. If you're a seller, it's kind of like, don't miss this window of opportunity when people still have the perception that it's crazy. Because as soon as that mass public perception goes away, that it's a crazy seller's market, the buyers are going to stop overbidding on your house. So just keep that in mind if you're looking to sell your house. And then this is the big question that a lot of people are having is, when will listings peak in 2021? You can see where in 2020, how listings just went straight down, not straight down, but they went way down because as more and more people were getting scared of the virus, things were getting shut down. It's just not the right time to do this in their life. All those things went on. And then as you're looking in 2021, they kind of dipped and then they're rebounding back now. The question is, when will it stop? And a lot of this is going to have to do with what is the mass public think or feel of what's going on with the market. Is it still a seller's market or is it actually a buyer's market? Because as you guys, if you follow enough of my stuff, you kind of know there's a delay to all these things. So if you follow my things, you're going to be more in real time knowing what's going on with the market. Usually by the time this data and these charts come out, we can only talk about what happened 2, 3, 4 months ago. How useful is that for you right now in real time? Not really useful, but it at least helps you kind of understand real estate and get to know the market a little bit more. Whereas personally, what I'm seeing is, I feel like from studying the data, the market, and just the general feel of being involved in it, is that it's going to be closer to number 2 as far as actual listings sold. Now, it could get into the number 1 range and peak up there because people are trying to still take advantage of the seller's market, not realizing the seller's market may have passed. And if your realtor is not entirely on top of their data like this, they could be just going off of the hype and the popular opinion and telling you, oh, it's a good time to sell. It's a seller's market. You need to sell. And then they put it on the market and it doesn't sell. And then you're like, well, my realtor's full of it. And part of that's because most realtors don't study the data like this, or they're behind by 2, 3, 4 months because they're waiting for the reports to come out. And if you're waiting for the reports to come out, like, you're kind of too slow. So anyway, that's kind of what I'm seeing in Q3/Q4 for 2021. We'll see how the rest of the year plays out. Part of this is keeping current matters, where I get this data from. They're a little bit biased just because they want to, I don't want to say make things look better than they are, but they try to influence the market is probably the best way to put it. And I'd rather bring you an objective way to look at it. But 3 reasons they see that it may continue to increase throughout this fall and into winter is the pent-up selling demand. Kind of like I was talking about, people want to sell their houses. They want to be they're more comfortable putting on the house now that more people are getting vaccinated and feel like it's okay to have people come through the house, that kind of thing. The other one is new construction starting to take off, meaning that a couple things. The materials involved are starting to level back out, even back out, be there available. Same thing with the labor. The labor is starting to keep up with everything. So the lack of option is really what slowed people in the past. And with the lack of retail, a lot more people are just going straight to the new build route.
It's 1 o'clock.
So I got an appointment coming up with someone that was saying just that. We just can't find one on the market. We're going to go build, which is what a lot of people are really, moving towards now that they can't find what they want on the retail market. And then also the end of forbearance will create new listings, not just from individual homeowners who can't make their payments, but also landlords can't make their payments, need to liquidate some houses. And actually, this is a very good thing for renter buyers who are renting that want to buy their first house but can't find any inventory or are having to fight over a lot of inventory. We need some of that, quote unquote, lower end inventory to come out, so that way we can get some of those renters into houses, first time home buyers into houses that don't necessarily have a lot of options, or there's 20 buyers trying to fight over one house. That can make it a little daunting, a little scary. And so when you have more listings come out, that'll help satisfy that demand. So I don't think that if we do see an increase, I don't think it'll be like a boom or a spike or anything like that. I do see like a slight increase of people putting their houses on the market throughout the rest of the fall and into the winter, just because I think a lot of people are starting to realize like this seller's market is coming to an end and they want to try it. They want to put their house out there to see if they can still take advantage of it. And if they can't, they'll just take the home back off the market and keep it and go from there with it. I don't know what it is about doing videos, but my nose starts acting up in the middle of stuff. But hopefully you guys got a lot of value out of this. Please like, comment, subscribe, share. Let me know what your thoughts on it. If you need more direct consulting or have direct questions, go ahead and go sign up on my website, and either I or someone from my team will reach out to you to set up a time to talk or answer your questions. And appreciate you watching as always. Talk to you later. Woo! One sneeze.